Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
And top of the morning to you, this is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And yesterday, I forgot to mention this actually, in the heat of the moment it escaped me. But here's belated greetings and remembering the legendary actor, producer, poet, lyricist, artist, politician, deputy speaker, governor, and group director of the Maharaja organization, Mr. Gamini Fonseca, an absolutely iconic figure, and don't we miss his input, remarkable as it was. And that was he would have been 82 yesterday, and we remember him with great fondness, and a true national figure, an iconic figure. Happy birthday to Gamini Fonseca from yesterday. And this morning to discuss the UN resolution which took place last night. They discussed Sri Lanka last night. To discuss that, we have the former Human Rights Commissioner in Sri Lanka, Dr. Pratibha Maheva, and the news editor of the island newspaper, Mr. Shamindra Ferdinando. Gentlemen, jolly good morning to you both.
Morning. Good morning, Faraz.
Good morning. Now then, so shall we ask the newsman first, Doctor? What has happened in Geneva yesterday?
For us, basically, Geneva has reiterated that the government of Sri Lanka should implement what it promised Geneva in 2015 October.
This is this joint?
No, it was a resolution co-sponsored by the government, the present government, where they agreed to implement 4 mechanisms to address accountability issues, and also to introduce a new constitution to Sri Lanka in accordance with Geneva wishes.
I see. And Dr. Pratibha, what do you have to say about these 4 things?
Now, 2015, they passed the resolution 30-1.
Yeah.
And this was extended for 2 years. Sri Lanka had done nothing.
Right.
Then there was another resolution came, 34-1.
Yeah.
According to that, certain things government promised. As Shamindra perfectly said, the new draft constitution. And also, they have set up 2 mechanisms, because after 20 months, passing this disappearance bill, and it came to act, and they have set up the office. But the issue is not that. Today, the United Nations specifically say, according to this co-sponsored resolution, we need a hybrid court. If hybrid court is not set up, we will use universal jurisdiction to Sri Lanka.
Right.
That means step by step, we are actually going for a trap.
Right. Now then, I don't know about both of you, but I've got a problem with a bunch of foreigners outside of my country telling me to change my constitution. This constitution is not designed for somebody else. It's designed for the people and all those in Sri Lanka. Are they forcing this down our throats?
So, we have agreed for us.
Yes, but that's the point. Are they forcing this down our throats because of previous mismanagement of our international image, standards, obligations?
For us, first of all, we must realize Geneva, the United Nations Human Rights Council, has nothing to do with our constitution. They have no right to intervene.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. So what happened was, although the previous government refused to act on Geneva dictates, the present government agreed to. So that's why they co-sponsored this particular resolution. And remember, the resolution, the Geneva Resolution 30-1, it was introduced on the basis of unsubstantiated war crimes allegations. Right?
Yeah.
So even before you prove these allegations in a court of law here or overseas, they have already decided that your country, the government of Sri Lanka, should implement these mechanisms. Now we have already set up OMP, we have passed a bill, and now we are under pressure to implement, to bring in a hybrid court.
But you know,
And also, there is 1 minute. And also, there is another one. International partial inquiry has already done. That report is tabled with the United Nations Human Rights Council. Now
They have already agreed on it.
They already agreed. And also, one thing I have to tell Shamindra, this new constitution, Dr. Harsha De Silva promised, right? Last November, not the United Nations Human Rights Council, he promised. So therefore, you have to implement it. So Sri Lanka government officers and ministers, they go and say certain things there, which is basically boomerang to us. So therefore, we can't blame United Nations Human Rights Council. It is actually our people, those who are not aware of human rights, they go for today's sessions also, whatever they promise, they are not implementing. So it is, we can't just blame to United Nations Human Rights Council, it is Sri Lanka, we the people who did that.
No, actually, Pratibha, our ministers and officials, they realize that this is what the UN wants, right? So they respond accordingly. Because
the hybrid court also, then you have to respond accordingly. That's why United Nations.
Yes.
right now then, all that is well and good, but the man on the street, the people here in this country, probably don't want a new constitution, but they do want to have a sense of accountability, because something, whatever happened out there towards the end of the war and so on, and we need to investigate that, don't we, to find out what happened, because we are, after all, liberal-minded bunch of people in this country.
I think he's asking you.
Yes.
Aren't we?
Now, after the end of 2009 war, there are two arguments. This is humanitarian operation, humanitarian intervention one side, and defeating terrorism. On the other side, if there are serious allegations or damages, yes, I agree. But my personal view is not this. What you could have done immediately after the war, you could have set up a national human rights inquiry, as well as Truth and Reconciliation Commission, similar thing like that. But what they insisted, USA after immediate 2009, even India supported to come up with certain judicial process. So whether we are going for a judicial process or whether we will going to follow a system like South Africa. So finally, this was still not solved. That's why they are insisting to come up with certain courts with a judicial process. At the moment, OMP Act also never say you can punish a person, but civil or criminal action not there. What is the next step? Go for a judicial process. So this is you call transnational justice. In the transnational justice, if someone has committed war crimes, let punish them. So one side that argument, on the other side a different argument. So which model we are going to take, still we have not decided. So that is the issue basically.
Now, Shamindra, do you have a different thought process than that?
No, actually, I must tell you now the allegations. I mean, the Geneva resolution is based on certain allegations made against the previous government. The number of people killed, 40,000, over 40,000 Tamil civilians killed. The Tamil people living north of Pudumatala and that region had been deprived of food and medicine. So there were certain allegations. But in October last year, in the British Parliament, Lord Naseby very clearly pointed out that the previous government, the military leadership or the political leadership did not purposely target Tamil civilians. And there was no basis for the allegation that 40,000 Tamil people were killed.
Yes,
but for some reason, this government refuses to take up that issue with Geneva. Right? This is the only country in the world. I believe
this government,
the UMP-led government refuses to inform Geneva and seek a fresh inquiry into this. Right? This must be the only country in the world where you obtain information, data, and specific statement made in the British Parliament that the Sri Lankan army did not commit war crimes. Right? The government refuses to raise the issue with Geneva. Unbelievable for us. Unbelievable.
Right.
And
Now
also 1 minute there is a Parnagama Commission report also. That Parnagama Commission report, they never revealed in the United Nations Human Rights Council. All these missing people and different disappearances, there was a commission and there was a gazette and also the time was extended.
Yes.
So lot of opportunities were there for the government, but they neglected whatever the United Nations Human Rights Council, other countries needed, they are supporting for that.
Shamindra, has your newspaper, and in all your years as a journalist, have you ever done a poll of the people to check what the people think of all these reports? This report, that report, what have you. All sorts, jolly things, voluminous things, 10,000 pages, trolleys, a big show and song and dance about it all. Are you able to tell me at least one such report that's actually worked for the benefit of the people? Instead
of the report on the central bank fraud. The central bank fraud, I think that's one report.
Well, okay, marks out of 10, how many marks would you give that report?
So usually for us here in Sri Lanka, the commissions are appointed to deviate the attention of the people. Right? They simply have, the former president appointed so many commissions. Right? There was a commission on tax reforms, he did nothing, absolutely nothing. And even this Geneva issue, I must tell you very frankly, the previous government could have done a better job. But for some reason,
then what is that reason? In this government, for example, they came here on a big ticket item, good governance, level playing field, beautiful sounding sort of notions, beautiful. And wow, didn't they paint it well? They imported PR people from overseas, paid them millions and millions of rupees. Only God knows, and they know, God and they know how they got the money to do that. And, these chaps came here and they tried all their stunts. They couldn't even get the British election results right, but these people came here and advised our bunch on how to have better haircuts and put more gel and blow dry your hair and all sorts of jolly things. And then, anyhow, they won.
Sure.
Having won, they robbed the country, right? And now we've had to spend even more money. And it's a bit rich to say that perpetual treasuries will pay for all the costs of the commission. It's not their money. It's the people's money at the end of the day, because remember, they robbed, or they're supposed to have robbed. Anyway, we digress. Now then, when we go back to this UN thing, right? And they're trying to impose a new constitution on us. Rather than get to the main thing, they ought to focus on an inquiry and let's get to the bottom. Because even if it was one war crime, it's one too many.
For us,
the British and so on also had their own set of problems, but they've had an inquiry. I know that there were 4 members of the army. I think it was for some transgressions and breaking the rules of combat in
Afghanistan or Iraq,
and those chaps were jailed.
But for us, please don't compare. We must not compare the deployment of the British forces in Afghanistan with our own operations, because this is an internal thing, right? The British were operating in somebody else's country. That's one thing, and you must also realize. Don't forget that. The Tamil National Alliance, led by Honorable Sammandan, they supported this government. They supported Maithripala Sirisena at the presidential polls and subsequently at the general elections on the basis, on the agreement that they would bring in a new constitution.
Yes,
so it's all connected for us.
But rather than a new constitution, that is where you have to go for the federal system.
But we are talking about a new constitution when we are actually ought to be talking about what happened. Something happened out there that was not in order. We know that something happened. It is not possible, Shamindra, for us to believe that everything was hunky-dory. It was not.
For us, if the Sri Lankan armed forces, committed war crimes, right, they should deal with that issue. Why on earth they demand a new constitution, right? It was an electoral agreement involving the UNP, the JVP and the TNA. That's why the TNA, you know, Pratibha, I am sure you are aware and you realize that they wanted to implement this plan in 2010. That's why the TNA voted for General Sarath Fonseca, the man who conducted the successful war, right? Having accused the Sri Lankan army of killing and raping and plundering, they voted. Why? The agreement was not the war crimes, right? They used that as an issue, raise that issue, and then force the government of Sri Lanka to agree to a new constitution.
And also, on that note, let's go for a short break, and we'll be back on the other side of the break. Don't go away. After all, this is Newsline.
Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
And welcome back to Newsline, and where this morning we're discussing what happened in Geneva last night, the universal jurisdiction, which we shall hopefully get an explanation from these two gentlemen here, Dr. Pratibha Maheva and Mr. Shamindra Ferdinando from the island. Now then, the Deputy High Commissioner for Human Rights, Kate Gilmore, reiterated the importance of a special court in Sri Lanka with the involvement of international practitioners. I'm so sorry, but I'm one who believes that we've got all the available and necessary talent in this country. It just needs to be focused and be bereft of interference so that a robust investigation and justice can take place in a fair, balanced way. Why do we need international people here?
Because trust and confidence. West believe our court system is not independent. They believe.
But wasn't that about
Let me explain.
Wasn't that about the previous?
No. Today also. Human Rights Watch, they clearly target Sri Lanka government. Don't play games.
Yeah.
Not only the previous government, this government also under this good governance regime, they totally believe there is no independence. That's why they are insisting. They need foreign judges as well as local judges to this court.
As observers? Or
No, not as observers. They take but the issue 1978 Constitution and our Judicature Act, whether there is a possibility or not, that is a different matter. But I am telling, our senior officers in the Attorney General Department, they go to Hague and they take part the prosecution part also. So today we have that, but they don't believe it. They rather somehow they want to insist this court and get the foreign jurisdiction here. But what is the reason behind that? The reason is where we have not taken any action against those army persons. Now today read Field Marshal Fonseca's statement. He say we can't implement all UNHRC resolution. That means every army commander here, they always say if they have done something, any criminal offense, Krishanti Kumaraswamy case, they have filed. So a lot of army people are in prison because if they have committed some offense, there is a local jurisdiction where you can go. But this is not the agenda. Please understand, the agenda is where they need to punish the former regime military officers as leaders. So therefore you are not taking action. That's why if you are not taking action, if you are delaying this action, we will insist this court, even not here, even in another country. That's why they quote about foreign jurisdiction. But we have not signed the Rome Convention, therefore they can have a court in another country, but you can't punish people here because how can you implement that in Sri Lanka?
Now then, I'm going to read out, as you know, we encourage our viewers to send us SMSs 0772 300 305. There's one message here I'd like to read out, and it says here, both your guests are under the influence of the last government. Today this government is trying to improve the country's position internationally, facing all odds, which was put into a mess by the last regime, as EMA has been dictated by dictatorial countries like Russia and China, who were not dominating our economy. then where were the likes of Mr. Pratibha, who is talking like a newborn baby? Wow, what a message. Can you respond, please, Dr. Pratibha? Dr. Pratibha.
Definitely. That is people view. They can have their own view.
Yeah.
This is my own view.
Talking like a newborn baby.
No.
Dr. Baba, I think.
Yes. Even in the previous government, if they have done something wrong, we have basically issued statement. Wait, I'll explain.
Yeah.
When the Valikada incident happened,
Yeah.
we were in the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission. We were the first commission to issue a report. In that report, it was not implemented.
Wasn't that awful? We had
That's
the
why I'm
army
going to
come
tell-
inside the prison.
That's why I'm telling you. We have issued a report. Basically, in that report, you can investigate and see what type of action we recommended. Ratu Paswal incident also same. So people can say several things. If that is not implemented, that is not a basic thing, because Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission only can make recommendation.
Yeah.
And also the new government, if they are not taking any action, that also I criticize. So it is where a people independent view.
Another question. Please excuse my ignorance. How is it that war crimes are leveled against the Sri Lanka security forces only when the Tigers kill so many civilians? How come they're not being inquired into? There are some leaders still alive.
Faraz, I'm sure you are aware that we are being punished
For what?
for defeating the LTT, right? Even at the last moment, you are aware, Pratibha, the West, the UN, they made several attempts to rescue Prabhakaran. The previous government, the former president, the former secretary of defense refused to cooperate with the UN project. That's why they are gunning for them. And please remember, if the West, if the UN, if they are so concerned about the Tamil civilians here, they must not forget our neighbor, the big powerful neighbor, India. Intervene here, Faraz, please.
Yes.
So if they want to really investigate this accountability issue, they must inquire into the conduct of the Sri Lanka, the Indian Army, because the Indian Army was here from 1987 July to March 1990. So if they want to investigate how this happened, the circumstances leading to Nandikada, let investigate both India and Sri Lanka. Then they will realize how Indian trained terrorists raided Maldives and almost killed the Maldivian president, right? It's not a simple issue, right? But for some reason, these people only want to target former President Rajapaksha.
But Shamindra, don't you feel for your fellow citizenry who were caught up in this terrorist action and who lost lives, their friends, family, children, lost their lives, and everybody, you have a legitimate right to live your life peacefully, to go about your business, and those people's rights were impinged by whoever, right? And now all they're asking, I'm playing devil's advocate, all they're asking is for an investigation, a real investigation. None of this business, they come in their air-conditioned jeeps and they say, oh, we're so sorry, oh gosh, is it really true? Is this how you live? And then they go off. Where's the resolution? Where are the houses? Where's the return of their lands? Where's the compensation?
For us, I have said this before on TV1, on several occasions. I have no objection. I do believe that we should invite foreigners to participate in this process, right? There's no issue there. But it must be a full investigation. There's no harm in foreigners. If necessary, they can go to Parliament, obtain the parliamentary approval, allow foreigners to sit there, but they must allow a full investigation. Now today, the Geneva resolution was passed on the basis of information provided by some 4,000 odd people, right? They have said that for 20 years, until 2031, we cannot inquire into the evidence on the basis on which they moved Geneva resolution. So that's the whole problem. And those who are talking about civilians, you show me a single statement issued by Honorable Sambandhan or the Tamil National Alliance requesting the LTT to release human shields. No. They did not, because until the very end, as long as they believed the LTT could somehow overwhelm the Sri Lankan army, They did not care, right? So 300,000 Tamil civilians or 400,000 Tamil civilians, nobody cared. They started shedding crocodile tears only after they lost the war.
But this is not only.
But
LTT, how they damaged?
Yes, but
LTT also damaged.
That's right.
They destroyed the mosque, and a lot of things were there on the LTT side. They are not talking about LTT side. They only talk about Sri Lanka army. So it has to be balanced. That's why United Nations Human Rights Council issues are there.
Isn't it about time that we manned up and we said, listen, we just want to know what happened, because obviously we can't bring people back again, but we can bring closure to them. We can bring closure. That's very important. When you bring closure and then get on with it, return their lands, pay them compensation, help them to get on with their lives.
No,
don't you want those children to go to school?
Faraz,
don't you want them to have hospitals?
Faraz, the previous government, the former President Rajapaksa, after the defeat of the LTT, the child recruitment stopped, right? Since 2009 May, I think the Tamil people...
But isn't it true, Shamindra, that if President Rajapaksa wanted to, if he had any intent of bringing a robust and sustainable peace and reconciliation in this country, which reconciliation you can't, as you know, you can't just get it overnight. It's a process. But you need the framework to be in place. And if he really wanted to, he had the mandate. He's very fond always of talking about the mandate he had. However, he obtained that mandate. But he had the mandate, yes. But what did he do? Do you know, when he had that election after the war finished,
You mean 2010?
Yes, when he had that election, and when he looked at the results, which was about 58% of the vote that he got, he should have realized that there was a huge message, and that message was his inaction. The people in the former conflict areas turned out in record numbers to vote on that election. And
for whom?
They didn't vote for him. This is the whole problem.
That's the whole issue.
He only got 58%. What I'm telling you is, isn't he?
Faraz, give me 30 seconds. The former president was battling General Fonseca, his own army commander. So the Tamil people of North voted for the former army commander, right? The same people who accused the Sri Lankan army of killing 40,000 people, they voted for him, right?
Shamindra, what I'm
it's
trying
all
to say,
politics for us.
it's
You must be reasonable.
Political game. This is a real political game, because
Yes. And
LTT diaspora
whilst this
insisted to vote
yes,
for
whilst
that.
this political game is going on, whilst this political game is going on, there are people out there who are Sri Lankan citizens who are living in mud huts, stuck around sheds, plastic.
Because of the war. Because of the war for us,
It's
since
8
2009,
years after the end of the war. What on
the
earth
things
have they done?
changed, things have changed for us.
What's changed? Have you been in the north and seen
Why
how many
not?
people live there?
Why not?
137,000 homes are required, and these bunch of so-and-sos, all they're doing is just arguing about whether it's plastic houses are better than mortar and bricks and steel and God have what?
Politicians in the south and the north are the same, right? Those politicians from north, based in north, they will never want this problem solved.
And
right?
30 years after the LTT,
They want to keep that.
for
They have
future
vote.
and
Because that's
30
their
years
future.
after the LTT.
What
vote.
about the MPs in that area? How they have insisted it? You are taking only one side, but you have to see their
But to be fair,
politicians are
Faraz,
there. They want to keep the problem, keep on moving.
Because
Then only they get the
in
support.
2004 April, Pratibha, the EU issued a statement in Colombo. It said, very clearly said, the TNA won the parliamentary post with the support of the LTT, very clearly. But the Elections Commission or the previous government did nothing. So I blame the previous government of President Rajapaksa for failing to show to the world the way the TNA operated.
On that note, gentlemen, thank you very much. 30 minutes has been up. The time's gone. But it's been robust. Thank you very much, Dr. Pratibha Maheva and Shamindra Ferdinando from the island. Thank you ever so much. And that's the way it was on this brilliant Thursday, the 22nd of March 2018. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.